let's get to the reason we're all here tonight, to hear from Christina, her advice on OKRs, how to turn bad OKRs into good OKRs. She's a lecturer at Stanford. She's worked at a lot of companies that you've heard of, obviously, LinkedIn, Zynga, MySpace, Yahoo. She's a founder of Boxes and Arrows that many of you may be familiar with. She writes great posts at eleganthack.com. She's a true writer. Look at all the books that she's written here. She's written all these books. Radical Focus has a second edition. And there's a Twitter handle right there, Sue Wodtke. So I'm really excited to hear her advice. I'm sure you are too about OKRs. Christina, awesome. Thanks for a great talk. Let's do a fireside chat now. And I'd love to discuss some of the points you brought up. The first one is basically, like you mentioned a couple of buzzwords. We have buzzwords in the product world, like strategy and inconceivable and Princess Bride, when there's these popular terms that people, I got your reference, that was good. Different interpretations about what a term means. So maybe, we've been using OKRs a lot. So I'm sure if we polled all the people on here, we'd get as many opinions about OKRs. So can you just kind of share your definition, your explanation of what OKRs are for people?
OKRs are SMART meets KPI plus a ritual to make it happen. So objective, O stands for objective, which means what do I really want to make happen this quarter? They're usually quarterly or annually. So is this a quarter we finally really focus on retention? Is this a quarter we finally really focus on making reducing customer service calls? What is the thing we're really trying to make happen that we believe is critical for the company? And then the KRs are key results, right? And those are the metrics that you can watch, but you can't directly control, that will tell you you're successful. So if you set a key result and you can just, I want to launch this thing, you probably can launch the thing, right? We're in software, we're pretty good at launching things. But if you want people to adopt the thing you're launching, that starts to be a key result. You could say, X number of people use it, try it, or X number of people use it every day or every month, whatever's appropriate. Those are good key results. And then the rest of the OKR is the simple methodology, which is on Monday, as part of some other meeting, maybe you say, oh, what are we trying this week to make it happen? And on a Friday, it's like, well, how's that going for you? Is it working? Do you believe we might make our OKRs, or do you think it's not going to happen? A lot of this is about having good conversations, but that temporal landmark, that rhythm, it changes everything.
Okay, and then you mentioned KPIs. So, we've got 2 3-letter acronyms, OKRs, KPIs. They sound kind of similar. Can you help people disambiguate, sort out the differences between the two? How are they different?
My facile answer is, OKRs are KPIs with a soul, because I think that objective, that thing that says this is what we're actually trying to do, is incredibly effective within companies, because it helps people who aren't as number oriented to say, oh, we're trying to do this, right? And then the hard numbers keep you honest. KPIs, you can have both. You could have a ton of KPIs that you're watching, and then you also have the little OKRs standing on top of the pile of KPIs saying, this quarter, don't forget to do the strategic thing.
Got it. Okay, cool. And then I think you kind of alluded to this, which is like, people are often just looking for a silver bullet, an easy way out, a shortcut, right? And I feel like that's, but that's like,
have you found any?
Go, yes, we'll adopt OKRs and all of our problems will be solved, right? So I'm just wondering if that kind of snake oil silver bullet mentality isn't realistic. Like, what's a more realistic way to think about how should we be thinking about OKRs versus this cure-all thing?
I will say they aren't cure-alls, but they definitely show all this organizational dysfunction. You start to put them in, and all of a sudden, all the ways they break tell you something about your company. So that's good. I don't know if you can do anything about a silver bullet mindset. That seems to be something that's fundamentally human. But there's a point where it's not working, and the question then becomes, are you going to give up, or are you going to go back to your source material and say, did I miss something? What else could I try? Should I change these? I see people often treating Agile or the Constitution as if it was written by God and therefore has to be followed to the letter. And no, OKRs, the stuff I've written, this is the stuff I've seen work, but it doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And it doesn't mean that you can't tweak it to make it work better for you. I've been doing this for a friggin' long time, since like what, 2014, 2012, something like that. So I've seen a lot of different things. So it is my book is a collection of best practices. This is the stuff that has worked consistently. But I think you have to say, okay, just because it works for everybody else, is this a place where I'm gonna have to tweak it? I just ask that people try it my way first and then start to mess with it. Don't just automatically go, well, we can't do that and we can't do that. Just try and then see what happens.
So skim the book and then just.
I'm going to kill you later.
Don't skim the book. Don't skim. That was a lesson. Don't skim the book. Nothing good happens if you just skim the book. Right. Okay. Got it. Cool. Okay. And then I think an important point is this whole don't implement it all at once. Like, and for me, it just brings up the whole idea of change management. This is just another change management. We're trying to change the org. You don't turn a battleship on a dime. So just, do you have any advice for people on how to think about this from a change management standpoint? You talked a little bit about piloting. I'm just wondering if you can talk a little bit more about how they should be thinking about getting it adopted, over time.
I mean, the thing is, everything I'm talking about sits on top of so many other things. So the work of John Cotter is tremendous. I had a huge change management project I had to do as an exec back in my industry days, and his materials were invaluable. But I will say, nothing succeeds like success. So if you start with this pilot team, you pick your smartest people, the strongest team, the people who are already doing awesome, because remember, OKRs are a vitamin. And then you introduce them to OKRs and have them do it quietly by themselves for a quarter and see what they figure out. Did they tweak something? Did they change something? Did they fail? And if that happens, have them do it again until they make it work. And then once it's tuned, then you do the road show. You send them out to do things like speak at the all hands or speak at people's lunch and learns to talk about what happened, what did success look like. At which point everybody's like, I need a piece of that. I really want the CEO to ask me to be up on the stage, or I really want the CEO to say good work. So therefore, when you see these people succeeding with OKRs, they will try to get it as well. Plus, then you have somebody who's already tuned it for your company. You can act as a coach. There's so many good things that come out of those pilots. And you just do them slowly and let things spread almost organically. I guess it's like a fake organic if you strategically figured out how to spread it, but it works.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Well, I know we're pressed on time, so I'm going to start the Q&A real quick. So we're going to do Q&A. So we're going to call your name out. So just be ready to hop on unmute your mic, unmute your video. So Kelly Hughes, if you want to hop up and ask your question on here.
So in Radical Focus, there was kind of a brief mention of how you used OKRs to kind of work through some personal goals, and it kind of got you to where you are now. And I was just wondering, I thought that sounded like such a great idea. I was wondering if you plan to write a book about that experience and best practice of using OKRs that way.
You are not the only person who's on me to write that book. I think I'm going to have to. Personal OKRs, the way I've been doing it, has been transformative. I've been running a pilot of personal OKRs with now 5 other women. It started out with just 2, and we folded other people into the accountability group. And it's taught me a lot about how hard it is to have to live your life by OKRs. The two people who have been most successful have been people with ADHD. And I was like, did not see that one coming. But it turns out it really, really helps to give yourself a scaffold when you're like, woo, shiny object, shiny object. Apparently, our brain is a lot like a startup. But other people who have a fairly stable life, they kind of forget they're doing OKRs. They wander back to their life. And I think, gosh, I could talk about this for like 2 hours. But yes, I have 2 blog posts on personal OKRs. If you look up personal OKRs in Wodtke, you can read them. I really need to write another one. And yes, I think I kind of need to write this book. You're right. Because it works great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Another vote.
All right. Thanks for your question, Kelly. Appreciate it. Okay, let's go to Rollo Smith.
Hoping you can elaborate just a little bit more on the interaction between the pilot team and the executive team. Say the executive team's doing it, pilot team's ready to get on board, but like the exec team set theirs, and then the pilot team looks at the exec OKR and decide what theirs are, or the other way around, or get everybody in a huge meeting and work it all out.
It really depends on when the exec team's going to roll in. Sometimes the exec team will do it privately and not tell the whole company, but they will share. No matter what, the exec team sets their OKRs, and then the pilot team has two choices. You either can contribute to those OKRs, or you're in a position in the company where you can't, at which point you get to set your own. Ideally, in a perfect world, the pilot team is realizing the exec team strategy and figuring out how alignment fails. I've tried to stop using the term cascading, because cascading works really great if you're a startup of 26 people, but if you add some zeros to the end of 26, it starts to break badly. So try to move to alignment. This is explained a lot in the book. But yeah, that's it. You can either start the pilot with no execs going, or the execs set it and they have to set it first, and then the pilot team makes a decision. We can help on that, or we can't help on that. And if we can't help on that, they can go back to their own team mission or team charter, whatever's been given to them. Every team has been put together for a purpose, so they should have an idea of what a good OKR would be for themselves, even if they can't contribute. This is why it gets so messy when it's big. The bigger you are and the farther away any given team is from the execs, the harder it is to make the OKRs hang together in any meaningful way.
Can I ask just one quick follow-on? How do you feel about the KR for the executives becoming the objective, like for the pilot?
No. Okay, ready?
Got that.
The reason we have an objective is because it's qualitative, it's aspirational, it's out there to inspire people, especially people for whom numbers mean nothing. And then the key results are what would happen if we succeeded. Now, if you took the revenue of 25K or whatever, and said, okay, that's now your objective. Well, it's numbers, so it won't make sense to people who aren't number oriented. It's not inspiring, except I think it's inspiring if you're a salesperson or an MBA, but for a lot of people, it's not very inspiring. And the objective isn't giving meaning to the number, and the number isn't giving meaning to the objective. So yes, when I give longer talks on OKRs, and again, I have some talks on my site, I talk about the damage John Doerr's deck has done. I've talked to Rick Clow. He's the one who kind of, his talk went viral. And he's like, if I'd realized this damn talk was going to go viral, I would have not used that deck, because it gave too many people some bad ideas. Those are things that don't actually work.
Thank you.
All right, thanks for your question, Rallo. Next up, we got Christian.
Yeah, hi, Christina. Longtime fan.
First-time caller?
First-time caller, yeah, exactly. Yeah, thank you for this. This has been very inspirational. So we were fortunate to get your book, and as a team, we got to be a pilot OKR team where I worked before. And that was great. It was very empowering for the team, and it was a fun experiment for a relatively large organization to sort of start to run. And now I've joined a new company where the executive leadership team is very excited. We're a company of about 200 folks. And we're going to be sort of having this grand reveal of OKRs next week. And I've got a peek at some of them, because I'm near that rarefied air in the org structure. And some of the OKRs are, the key results are, I'm concerned because some of them seem more about doing the thing, more action oriented, like just here's a punch list of activities. Let's launch this new update. Let's get this thing done. I'm just wondering what your thoughts on the action versus value, or the output versus outcome for key results.
That's easy. Outcome. When you commit in paper and every week you're giving progress on this thing you're doing, it's really hard to kill it or to pivot to something else. But if what you have is the outcome, like customer retention. If we thought the best way to do customer retention was to, let's see, I don't know, give people $20 every time they used us, well, you could build the tool that did that sent out the $20 to everybody. But over time, people are like, I'm not really caring if I get it or not. Some people are not depositing their checks. Maybe you have the wrong market for that and you want to try something else. I just made that up and it sounds like a terrible example, but then it reminded me that when you're trying to recruit CEOs and senior managers, that giving them a $20 incentive doesn't incent nothing. So their hour is worth more than that. So anyway, so when you have outcomes, you have a chance to change stuff, and you don't overcommit to the solution that you're working on. I just prefer it that way. I think it works significantly better. We ship so much stuff that doesn't do anything. It's so depressing, don't you think?
Yeah, and I don't mean to disparage my executive leadership team, but the objectives with key results of do the thing seemed to be a bit uninspired, and I did feel like it was removing a lot of what I would hope to see more autonomy among the teams that were having that thing to get up every morning to do, excited about.
I was helping a company with their quarterly, grade and then set the new ones. And one thing that really, really helped was adding something on the side of the OKRs that said, here's are the top initiatives. And that helped the CEO say, oh, it's not just nebulous. I can see these are the things you're going to try, and I can talk to you about it. And it seemed like a little bit of a bridge from moving from do stuff to make stuff happen in the world. And so that's something you could try. It's so funny. It's like when it's on another tab, it's too far away, but if they're next to each other, it works. But it does work.
That's great. Yeah, I like that idea of a bridge. So I might try to build one of those.
Scaffold.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I would just add, it seems like you get these binary or Boolean KR sometimes, like launch the thing or do the thing. It's just versus some metric, not to generalize, but it sounds like a metric will be better than.
Yeah, when I coach people, I always say, if you launch this thing, right, what would happen in a perfect world? You launch it, it works exactly the way you want it to. What would happen? And then that ends up being KR.
Right,
yeah.
Exactly. Cool. All right.
Great. Thank you.
Great. Next up, thanks for your question, Christian. Next up, I'm just going quick because we only have a couple minutes left with Christina. So Jess, go for it.
Yeah, similar to the last caller, our team are delivering to a quarterly roadmap, and we're kind of given the things that we have to build by the end of the quarter. So our KRs are very much focused on we've built the thing. We're trying to move more to a measurable KR, but it seems like it's always going to be lagging. Like the next quarter will be able to measure the previous quarter.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on that?
I wrote a Medium piece about it, if you want to dig in a little more. So it's called The Goal Matches the Team, or the goal fits the team. And so what it is if you're working like that, what you want to do is create, I'm going to cause trouble because I know people are going to get this wrong, but milestone OKRs. So if you think about it, if you're building a project that's going to take, say, 9 months to really know what's going on, that's risky. That makes me worried. We're working on 9 months and we don't know what's going to happen. So I look for OKRs, the KRs in particular, that will tell me we're on the right track. And that's when you get into that lean thinking. Okay, so it's the very beginning. What are some metrics that would tell me we're pointed in the right direction? And it could be that some percentage of early testers liked it, or it passed some usability tests, or, all those tricks that Lean has with concierge testing and stuff. That's a great place to get it. David Bland has this wonderful book that's like a recipe book of experiments called Testing Business Ideas. And if you want just like a big pile of ways to test things early to see if you're pointing in the right direction, that's a great choice.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right, Jess, thanks for your question. And yes, David Bland has been on here. He's a guest and he spoke about that. So yeah, Testing Business Ideas, great book as well. So
he's
cool.
A sweet guy too.
All right, Christine. He's a very nice guy. So he's actually our first virtual COVID person, March 2020. I remember because we adjusted. So yes, and he co-wrote that with Alex Osterwalder, the business model generation author. So cool. All right, Christina. Well, thank you very much for sharing your time with us. I appreciate it.